are now standing in front of Prospect United Methodist Church. This building was once known as the Log Trap Meeting House by its original members in 1832. Prospect was formed by a group of Christians and neighbors during a time of religious debate. In the 1800s, Methodists were leading a movement where the common man could be involved with both the church and the state. Religious freedom was beginning to be truly practiced in Virginia, and Prospect was part of that movement. Though the original meeting house no longer exists, Prospect is still quite old, being one of the few remaining frame churches in the state. The sanctuary has changed little since her creation in mid-1800s. If you stand at the steps of the church and turn around, you'll be facing Westwood Road. This road was used by Civil War troops that were raiding local farms and houses. They used to take food, livestock, and horses. In the midst of that crisis, Sundays at Prospect became quite disorganized, so they discontinued services during the Civil War. The land that Prospect sits on, which was originally donated by two men named Wingfield Lipscomb and John White Davidson. They gave Prospect 1.5 acres of land. This donation, however, was not recorded on paper, so to settle any doubts about the ownership of the land, decades later, an honorary deed was drawn. Once you walk into the sanctuary, you will notice the large windows. These windows were put in during the time periods of 1914 and 1916. Look up. You will see sets of hanging lights. Each of the lights that hang today used to be oil lights. The oil lights were replaced in 1984, when, believe it or not, electricity finally became available to Prospect. All of the pulpit furniture, dating circa 1878, is original, but they have been reupholstered. If you walk on further towards the back of the church, you will be entering a more modern addition. This educational wing was added in 1960. If you walk out the back of the educational wing, you will see the cemetery. The cemetery was where the original church was held when it was called a meeting house. The members of the early church were focused to change their location after their first building burned down. They rebuilt the meeting house to where the frame church you see today stands. The oak trees that surrounded the grounds were used to help the members construct the second meeting house, when that proved to be too small and was relocated 5 miles in 1875 to a new location that has since been lost to time. If you stand at the gate of the cemetery and look at the very far right-hand corner of the church, you'll be looking at the resting place of 4 Civil War soldiers. However, there are no headstones to mark their graves. The bodies of the soldiers were found in 1962 while a company was under construction on the Cold Harbor battlefield. The bodies were confirmed to be unknown Civil War soldiers. One member of Prospect asked that the soldiers be moved to rest for good at the church cemetery. The company agreed. Today, a tractor supply company stands where the bodies were originally found. Sadly, any markers that were put down for the soldiers have since been removed.